Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm out at a pool that we got called out to. We've got a bunch of algae, a lot of dirt coming in. They're doing a little bit of landscaping around the sides of the pool here, so it's getting really dirty. When we showed up, the pump was not turned on. It wasn't working. After I get the pump running, we will come back here and we will go step by step on how I'm gonna get this pool back to working, beautiful condition for our customer. All right, let's go ahead and come back here and kind of take a look at the equipment and see what we got going on why the pump's not working. So in the process here, I am just kind of trying to check and see what they have their schedule set on, make sure that there's nothing in their schedule here that would be turning the pump off on me. When I first got here, I tried to turn the pump on. It fired up for about a minute and then turned off. So a lot of the reason why we've got a lot of dirt and stuff in there is their filter pump hasn't been running, it hasn't been working, it hasn't been doing its job. So I'm here inside my controller looking at schedules and things like that to kind of just figure out what we need to do to get that pump to stay running. That pump does not sound good. Sounds like we got a little bit of bearing noise coming from the pump over there. The pump shut off again. So the pump's only running for me for about a minute and then it turns off. I think it's more than likely because of our bearing noise going on there. It sounds like the pump's got something internal going wrong with it. I did fire this other pump up that's connected to their skimmer that I'm hoping we'll be able to use that to be able to kind of get cleaning and going on this pool here. So the first thing that I like to do, guys, before we go too crazy digging into things, sometimes these automation systems just need like a reset. So I'm gonna basically just turn all of our breakers off here. This is doing what's called a hard reset on the system, and then we'll kind of get back in here and see if those pumps will turn back on and actually stay on and stay running. Okay guys, so what we had going on is the pump, when we first turn it on, it's got a certain amount of time that it primes, and then after it goes to done priming, wherever it's set on a schedule or in the system here is where it goes down to. So I thought that the pumps were turning off. They were actually just turning to the low setting, which is like on like 8%. So it sounds like the pumps are off. So now I've got it fired back up onto the 100% so we can kind of get going on the cleaning. Once we're done cleaning, I'll actually go in and set a proper schedule and make sure that this pool is actually filtering properly, and it should stay a lot cleaner than it is right now. Okay, so our first step that I like to do as a maintenance cleaner when it's this dirty, usually I would start by just brushing and kind of netting. Because there's so much dirt in here, if I do that, I'm gonna stir a lot of that dirt up and we're not gonna be able to vacuum it up. So I'm gonna start with just hooking my vacuum up into the skimmer, get it in the pool, and just suck as much of the dirt up as I can before we get to kind of brushing and skimming and things like that. And then after I finish that, I'll come back and probably run a vacuum over the pool again. So always when we're vacuuming, we're gonna prime our hose. We do that, pushing it in to the water and just making sure all of your hose goes down into the water. That's basically gonna push all of our air out of our hose so that when we hook it into the skimmer, we don't suck a bunch of air through the pump. As you can see, the water's coming out, all the air is out of there. I am good to hook this into our skimmer, and we'll let Lamidus start vacuuming. While he's doing that, I'm gonna grab a net. We've got some leaves and some rocks and stuff I wanna get netted up before we suck those into the filter. So while Lamidus is vacuuming over here, I'm gonna do a little bit of light brushing, especially on the ledges and the walls, kind of try to push some of that dirt down off the walls onto the floor so he can pick it up with his vacuum. Unfortunately, with how dirty this one is, there is a little bit of staining going on, so we're not gonna be able to get all the dirt up because it's kind of set into the plaster down there, but I'm gonna brush it, I'm gonna do my best, and then I'm gonna lower the pH quite a bit to try to see if we can't kind of get some of this staining to come out. So guys, with doing the vacuuming, we're stirring up a lot of dirt and I'm brushing the dirt up and everything. I'm gonna put some Clearex, is what it's called. It's basically, we'll take all of our dirt and kind of clump it together. I'm gonna put it into the skimmer and then it's gonna catch most of that dirt and kind of help the filtration system kind of catch some of this dirt while it's all kind of up and going through the skimmers and the main drains and things like that. I wanna try to catch as much of this dirt that we've got kind of stirred up and vacuuming around here. So you can disperse this one of two ways. You can either disperse it into the pool, which at that point it'll kind of collect everything together and drop it to the bottom of the pool, or you can put it into the skimmer, which in turn gets into your filters, and it's supposed to help kind of collect your dirt into that filter, kind of help that filtration a little bit better. So I'm gonna basically just put about 8 ounces in the skimmer here. Jeez, that thing's got some suction. Okay, so that should kind of help us a little bit with kind of getting some of this dirt collected into the skimmers, or I'm sorry, into the filters. Okay, so now that we've kind of done a little bit of vacuuming, you can kind of see the water's super cloudy. That's just natural when you're kind of stirring stuff up. You're gonna get that water getting cloudy. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna dip, see what our chemicals look like, and then I'll probably chemical it, let it sit for a little while, and then we'll brush it down one more time, and then the Midas will run a vacuum over the bottom one more time. And then at this point, for the most part, it's kind of letting your chemicals work to kind of get rid of this algae that's on the walls. I'm gonna put some Algaecide and some phosphate remover into it. And then the homeowner, probably in between visits, will need to kind of keep those walls brushed and try to brush some of this algae off as that Algaecide kills it. So, a quick dip on the water here. So probably one of our big problems with the reason why this one is getting some algae and things like that is it's got no chlorine in it. And our pH, the staining, our pH is crazy high. We're about probably a 9 right now. And that is prime pH for that dirt to sit on the plaster and just embed itself into there. That's why keeping your pH controlled is probably that and your chlorine are the two most important things with a pool, because if you don't, this is what happens with the staining and the algae and things like that. So one other thing on the chlorine on this pool, guys, this is actually a salt pool. It has a salt cell on it. When I was back there getting all the pumps fired up, getting everything going, it actually had an alarm for a clean the salt cell or clean the T cell. When that alarm is on, the salt cell will never work. So the salt cell needs to be cleaned to kind of keep it functioning like it's supposed to. And then if that alarm is on, it's very important that you go through and check your alarms on some of these automation systems, probably daily or at least every other day. Because if you get one of your chemical systems, your salt cell in this case, that stops, that's another reason why we end up getting a pool that's got algae blooms and things like that. Let's go ahead and just set that down. Let that just kind of sit there just leave it in the water. Let her sit. Let's grab that bottle, and then you and I will go get some liquid chlorine, some granular chlorine, and a bunch of acid. All right, so we've done our initial vacuum, our initial brushing, our initial skimming. Now I'm gonna get our chemicals dialed in so that I can add our phosphate remover and our Algaecide to the pool. I am gonna go a little high on the chlorine, just so we can kind of try to get this pretty bad algae that's going on in this pool. But I want to maintain my pH. I'm going to maintain it a little on the lower side at about 7.2. So hopefully maybe we can lift some of the staining. If I wasn't adding my Algaecide and my phosphate remover, I would probably bring it down a little lower and have the homeowner not swim in the pool, just so we can try to get some of that staining kind of lifted out of the plaster. It's not going to get it all out of there, but if you do bring your pH down, it will lift that staining just a little bit, and you can kind of brush it up a little bit. But being that we have an algae problem here and I want to keep my chemicals kind of pretty dialed in, I'm not going to bring that pH down anywhere below 7.2, which is 7.2 to 7.8 is going to be your ideal. I'm always going to go deep end with my acid. That's going to give it a little more time to mix. If I go with the shallow end, it could get to that plaster a little bit quicker and maybe damage your plaster. So I always add my acid on the deep end. That's just a preference of mine, and it's just for safety so I don't damage a customer's pool. I always, after I finish, because there is some residual on the bottle that will corrode and basically eat your concrete, I always just dip it in the water real quick just to kind of rinse all that residual off. So if there was any residual on there now, I'm not dripping and having the concrete etched. All right, so I've put some acid in, got my pH down to, it's about a 7.3 right now. Probably once it's kind of circulated, it'll be around that 7.2 where I want it. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of chlorine. I'm gonna shoot for about a 5 for right now, which is definitely on the high end of where you wanna go, but I want to kill this algae in the pool. So I'm gonna put a gallon in. Lamidus is gonna put a gallon in here. All right, everyone. So I've added chlorine, I've added acid, I've got those dialed in to where I wanna have them at for putting in some algaecide and some phosphate remover. I have tested, our phosphates are high, which is kind of natural with a pool that's got some algae growth going to it. And I've got some algaecide here. I want to try to kill that algae, so I'm going to add some algaecide to the pool. I'm going to add some phosphate remover to the pool, and then we're going to leave that chlorine high. These three working together with that chlorine should hopefully kill our algae bloom that we have going on here and get that water back to clear and no green on our plaster here. So with these, especially the phosphate remover, it's going to start out blue, as you can see in the container. When we put it in the water, you'll see it turn white, and that's kind of how you know that it's working. Same thing with the Algaecide. It won't turn white, it's actually a blue, and it'll just stay blue. It'll kind of turn your water a little bit cloudy, but it'll filter out and it'll get back to that clear that you're looking for. See guys, Lamidus's phosphate remover over there is turning a white. That means that it's working and that we're killing whatever phosphates are kind of coming into the pool here. And my Algaecide is actually turning kind of a lighter blue, which again, that tells me that we've got some algae in here and that Algaecide is working. And now we throw a touchdown over to Lamidus. All right, everyone, so we put our chemicals in, we brushed, we've skimmed, we went over with the vacuum twice here. So I'm gonna pull my vacuum out of the pool here. I always like to take the vacuum out of the pool. Just make sure you always disconnect the side that's in your inlet to your skimmer here. Take the vacuum out of the pool, set it over the top of the skimmer, and then we'll just pull the hose up here and basically kind of drain it into the skimmer. So if there is any like residual dirt or leaves or anything like that that's in the hose, we don't push it right back into the pool. Put it in the skimmer here, it's gonna end up going right back through the skimmer and into the filtration system and filter instead of going into the pool and making the pool dirty. All right, so now that we kind of got all of the cleaning done here, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna set a schedule and kind of just get everything running back here at the equipment area the way it needs to be running so this pool can kind of start filtering and clear up a little bit. Okay guys, so you kind of hear our pumps, both of them are actually pulsating a little bit. This is gonna happen when there's that much dirt in the pool and we vacuum it into the filters. Now our filters are pretty plugged up. The next process back here at the equipment area that we would do would be a filter cleaning. We actually do have a video of that. If you subscribe to our channel, you can check that out, how you do filter cleanings. That's gonna be my next recommendation for this customer. Now that we've vacuumed everything up and that we've got everything, kind of halfway cleaned up for them out there, we need to make sure this filtration system is functioning and working properly, or we're gonna go right back to where we were. So before I leave, I will talk to the customer. I will let her know that it's probably a good idea to get the filters cleaned so we can get proper filtration going back with this pool. The other thing, as I said, when we first got here, their pump was only running from noon to 4 hours a day. It was running on low, and that's just not enough for a big pool like this, especially during the summertime when you get windstorms and things like that. You've got to run that pump and have it scheduled at least on a medium for anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day, just to keep your filtration right, keep your pool clean. And also this pool has a salt cell, and the only time that salt cell is gonna chlorinate this pool is if the pump is running and it's able to chlorinate. So 8 to 12 hours, set your salt cell pretty high if you got an algae bloom like this. If you don't, you know, just maintain your salt cell at a good level, you know, probably 6-7 hours a day, and it'll run pretty good. So what I'm gonna do for this pool though, because we do have a lot of filtration that we're looking to do, I've added some of the Algaecide and the clarifier and things like that. I want at least for the next day for the pump to just run and try to filtrate and kind of kill some of that algae, get our filters cleaned up, and just get everything kind of filtrating and working back to where it was supposed to. So today I'm gonna set this pump to basically run for 24 hours for probably the next couple days. And then after that, I'll make a suggestion to the homeowner that they run it on medium for about 8 to 12 hours a day. So before I leave this pool, I decided to go ahead and do a quick dip test on my chemicals. We added 2 gallons of chlorine to this thing, and we're still, when we first kind of put that the phosphate remover and the Algaecide in, we were pretty there right about a 4 or a 5. That algae's already eaten a bunch of this this chlorine, so I am going to add a little bit more chlorine before I take off today, kind of help get this thing cleaned up again. I'm going to add a little granular this time, just because it's a little slower dissolving. I like to, when it's 0 chlorine, to start with the liquid chlorine to kind of get everything kind of running, and then add the granular so it dissolves a little slower. All right, everyone, so that's gonna wrap up our video on our initial clean of a pool that's got a pretty good algae bloom going. Our next steps for our homeowners is they're gonna need to kind of keep brushing, keep vacuuming, and keep those chemicals balanced on this pool for the next couple weeks. Unfortunately, a pool that's got this much algae growth, it's not just you know, it goes away the next day. It takes a little bit of time. It takes some work. It takes some kind of scrubbing and brushing the walls and vacuuming up the dirt and the dead algae and things like that to kind of keep this thing clean and get it back to where it was before. So that's going to be what we do here. The homeowner's kind of going to have to take over. If they decide they want us to kind of take care of it, we could also come out and you know, get this thing going back on the next steps after this one here. So check out our video here on how to clean a salt cell. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.